Hi there. Welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. It is a dark, gloomy day, and we're calling for rain for the next 3 days. So that means a lot less things to do outside and an opportunity to work inside. And with all my eggs right now, especially the duck eggs, I need to use them up. So I'm going to be taking in all my duck eggs, making some Spätzle and some pastas. And I'm going to show you both recipes and how easy it is to preserve your eggs in pasta to be shelf stable and use it later. The Spätzle will be frozen and kept in the freezer, but the pasta itself I will be drying out. We've got quite a few duck eggs here. And it's been a couple of weeks that I have been collecting. So I will for sure be doing the float test just to make sure everything's in order. And we don't want to use any eggs that might have gone off. Need to wash them anyway because I will not be cracking these eggs without washing them first. But as it appears, I have I've got 18 packs. As I have mentioned before, the eggs are really dirty this time of year. It's just muddy out and this is what happens. So this is a dual purpose process that I'm doing. I am putting the eggs in soapy water, not only to wash them, but to do a float test while I'm at it. And now I've got a little bit of suds, so I actually have to push it away, make sure that there are no floaters. These are all sinking, so that means they're all fresh. Like I said, these were within the last 2 weeks, so they should be good. But sometimes there's a crack or something that lets air in and can spoil that egg. Now for soap, I have mentioned this before, but I will mention it again. I use this fragrance-free plant-based cleaner. Basically what I use to wash my vegetables and my eggs. I don't want any fragrances, and I will put a link to where you can purchase this in the description box. Now for washing, I just get a new scrub brush or scrub sponge, and I just go through and clean them. When I crack the eggs, I don't want any dirt going into the interior. And I am gonna do this for 120 eggs, which is what we have before we make our pasta. So here you see I have 18 packs, so 36 eggs in here. And you see how this one is floating? This tells me this egg is no good. See that? It's the only one. And so far, so good. It's the only one I've come across. It might have a little fracture. Might have just been hiding and it wasn't collected when it should have been. But anyway, we know that this one is not a keeper, and this is why we do the flow test before we make pasta. And we are done. 120 eggs washed. I only had one bad egg and one that was cracked, so I didn't want to take a chance. I am rinsing these. This is well water, so there is no chlorine or anything. I want to make sure that there is no soap residue on any of these eggs. Reason being, after we've cracked them and used them, I am going to feed these shells back to our chickens and ducks because this time of year especially, they need as much calcium as they can get. And as you notice, that is a chicken egg. Not that it's going to make a difference, but obviously this Old English hen decided she was going to lay on the ground with the ducks. But here we go, 120 eggs, and we're ready to get started. As I stated earlier, I'm going to be making both Spätzle and egg noodles today. This video will be the Spätzle ending, and underneath in the description box I will link the egg noodle pasta, which I'll be drawing. So to get started, we're going to need to crack some eggs, and let me just get this ready to show you. I'm going to be cracking 4 eggs into my stand mixer. I'm using my KitchenAid. I am using deck eggs, so of course the whites are very gooey. Another reason for washing them. Look how gorgeous those yolks are, they're huge. We're gonna start off by cracking 4 eggs into our mixing bowl. And as always, I will put in the description box all the ingredients I am using and quantities, but please remember, everything needs to be adjusted because eggs are different size, flour has different hydration. What you're looking for is consistency, and I will show you what works best consistency-wise. So we have, let me show you here, the 4 egg yolks, and these 2 my duck eggs. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt and a cup of water. We may need to add some more water later or some more flour. We'll adjust it accordingly. And we're just gonna get this going. Now the flour I'm using is actually pizza flour. It's the Caputo 00, and there's no specific flour you need to use. I happen to have this, it's from last year. I want to make sure I use up all my flours. So I have sifted it to make sure that there is no lumps. And I'm going to be adding 2 cups and about 2.5 cups of flour to our egg mixture. Now you can use all-purpose flour. In Germany, they actually have a Spaetzle flour, but don't fret over these things. Use what you have and everything turns out great. I'm going to be adding this slowly. Going to increase the speed, so let me put my guard on so it doesn't splatter everywhere. Now at this point, it is traditional. You don't have to add this, but it is traditional to add nutmeg, grated nutmeg to Spätzle. And I do like it, and I just dropped it in there, which is not a good thing. I'm gonna need to get another one. You don't need to add nutmeg, but it is a tradition, so I like to do it. Now, besides scraping the sides of the bowl, which I want to do, I wanted to show you this. See that? Hope you can see it okay. That is super thick. That is too thick for what I'm going to do. So what we want, our consistency needs to be a thick pancake batter. And that, I'm trying to make sure that you can see that, that is too thick. So I'll be adding a little bit more water. Now some Spätzle recipes do call for milk rather than water. And I have made it with milk many, many times, but for the purpose of freezing it, which is how I'm gonna preserve this, I find that the water allows for a better consistency when you defrost and reheat them. So let me get a little bit more water for this. And this is where I say adjust based on the texture of your batter. This is what I'm looking for. So let me show you. You see that? It does come off the spoon, but very slowly. You don't want it to be runny, but you definitely do want it to mix nicely, which is what's happening here. Now, what I'm gonna do is take this batter and place it in the fridge for at least 15 minutes. And then we're going to cook these up, and I'll show you how I normally do it, and I'm gonna try something with you being my witness to see if it works. So this has been beating for 5 minutes, and look at that perfect consistency. That's what we want, a thick pancake batter, just perfect. This is going to go into the fridge for at least 15 minutes, up to, I'd say a day and a half, 2 days. There are raw eggs in here. We don't want to leave it in the fridge too long, but 15 minutes works well. But if you wanted to do this in the morning so that you can have it for dinner, you can absolutely make up your mixture, put it in the fridge, and then finish it off at dinner time. Now, while this is resting in the fridge for 15 minutes or so, this kitchen has become a disaster, so I need to do a little cleanup. So as soon as this is set and we are ready, I'm going to show you how I cook these up. Now, multitasking as usual. We got dinner on the go, still finishing up videos on both the egg noodle pasta as well as the Spätzle. We're gonna do the Spätzle right now, and before, I'm actually just waiting for the water to come up to temperature, but I just wanted to show you the equipment that I normally use. I use this, which is a Spätzle maker. Place this on the, just had a puppy come in visit. Place this on the pot, and I put my batter on here, and normally I use a silicone spatula, and I just press the dough through. Now I do butter it first just to help it glide a little easier. And I know that there are different Spätzle makers out there. There's the press where you place it in, it's like a potato ricer. You put your dough in there, you press it through, and you make your Spätzle. And then there's a apparatus that sits on top of your pot. It's a box, and the box, it's like a mandolin. Reminds me of a mandolin. The box you fill with your batter and then you run it back and forth and the Spätzle comes out at the bottom. Now, I'm not gonna invest in any more kitchen gadgets. I got way too many to start. But I thought, how can I take this idea, which works well, but when you're doing a lot of batches, it's time consuming. So I'm thinking, how can I make the process smooth, like that mandolin type, with what I got? I know some people use colanders, but again, you're pressing it through. So I thought, I have a food mill, and it has pretty large holes as an option. And I'm gonna try this with you watching. So we're gonna go through this together. And I'm gonna put some batter in here, wind it through, and see how they turn out. It's a process that I'm trying for the very first time. Maybe a win, maybe a fail. We'll find out together. But I am getting ready to make dinner. As you can see, lots of stuff always on the go. I've got dinner going in the back. Just some steak cutlets in some sauce that I'll be having with my Spätzle. With the Spätzle, and as I'm talking, I browned some butter, and it is definitely getting brown. So let me just add some more to that to stop that cooking process. Slow it down. This is what happens when you multitask. Sometimes things go astray, but this is real life. That's perfect. I like the brown butter together with the Spätzle. It's a great way to serve it. I started it off with my home packed ghee. Again, if you're interested in knowing how to make ghee at home, comment below and I will put a video together. So as I do my Spätzle, I'm going to put it on a cookie sheet. I think I will line that with some parchment, because it always makes things easier when you do it that way. Parchment sheets, I love these. I'll link those below in case you're interested in getting some off Amazon. I do get a small commission for it, of course. I'm gonna place my Spätzle on here, place this whole thing in the freezer so that I am freezing them individually, and then I'll be keeping them for future use where you just need to thaw it out and reheat. Now I can see my water's boiling. You do not want your water boiling for Spätzle. So I'm going to bring this a little closer. You just want it at hot temperature. So the first way I'm going to do it is with my tried and true method. Just put a little butter on here because this way I know it doesn't stick very much. And let's be honest, I never use the spatula, I use my hand. I do both sides. It just keeps it from like the dough sticking and cooking against the metal. I'm just gonna leave that aside while I wash my hands. Okay. Now our water has it's calmed down from the boil. Gonna get our dough that's been resting in the fridge. Oh, almost lost my spatula altogether. And there you go. This is what it looks like. See a little bit of bubbles. That's just from the aeration. There's no leavening agent here. I'm gonna see if I can move this over so I don't drop anything. What I'm gonna do is just place the Spätzle maker on top, and I'm gonna ladle some of my batter on there. As you can see, thick pancake batter. And I'm gonna let that sit while I work this. And all you're doing is working it around. Get that handle out of the way, not very good visibility. And I'm just working very gently so that it goes through the holes. Super simple. This has got to be the easiest pasta technique. It is a German noodle. And I probably am not pronouncing it correctly, so I apologize to any of my German friends out there. I call it Spätzle, but if it's known as something different, you can let me know. I stand to be corrected. And here we go. And just move this off. It's getting kind of hot. I'm just gonna, there we go. It's in the pot. As soon as it floats, it is done. And here we go. They're floating, so they're done. Look at how beautiful these are. This took no time at all. You can see why it's great to have these in the freezer as a quick heat up. It's nicer than any store-bought pastas. Sure beats things like Kraft Dinner, I tell you. Make a cheese sauce with this, and you have your own version of mac and cheese, which is just beautiful. There you go. That was a quick pan. Now, it is traditionally served with either brown butter or butter and onions. Like I said, I've made it as a mac and cheese and it works really well. But now that we've done my traditional way of doing it, I'm gonna just put this aside so it'll cool. Now, I did notice that there was a lot of starch on the Spätzle. So what I decided to do was I placed it in this colander and I ran it with some cold water just to cool off the process, the cooking process. And I'm gonna let it sit here and drain, and then I'll put it on the cookie sheet so that I can let it dry a little bit and then put it in the freezer to freeze. Let's see how this will work. Could be a win, could be a fail. I'm willing to try any of these things. Now, it's not gonna sit on this pot grate, so I'm gonna have to really be careful with this. Bring over this really heavy pot of dough. I'm gonna just put in, oh, you know what, I'm gonna be brave. Put in a couple of ladles. What the hell? It's not a big fail. I got lots of dough here. Now, the presses work really well because you can end up with elongated doughs. So let's see how this works. Now, if I just go slowly, the slower I go, the longer the dough should be, or the noodles, not the dough. Let's see where we're at here. I guess scrape the bottom would help. And we'll put that resting. Mix it up and let's see what we end up with. Let me check on my steaks to make sure that it's all good there. Okay, so these came out quite tiny. Just looking for all the equipment to use here. They are floating, so they're cooked. So as you can see, they came out not too bad. They're tiny though. So what would I use these for? I wouldn't call this a fail. They're quite small. I guess these would go really good in like a chicken broth, where you just want to add a few noodles. But I wouldn't do this as Spätzle. It's not consistent enough for me. But you know what? We tried it. I'm gonna use these tonight because I don't want to waste them. But there you go. Not too bad. I'm glad you came along to try this adventure with me because, like I said, I was trying it for the first time. I wouldn't call it a fail, but I wouldn't really call it a success because it's not something I would do again. Just cleaning off the dough from that so I can wash it off because obviously I need to wash it off. But I'm gonna clean this up and I'm gonna keep cooking so that you can see how the Spätzle turns out. Move that aside. Grab some of my brown butter because I want to show you how I do up my Spätzle for dinner. So here we go. There's the brown butter. I'm gonna fry these up. This is going to be a side. It's a different type of side rather than just potatoes or rice. Love this with chicken paprika. That's like my favorite. But here we go. I'm obviously blocking any view of anything. Here we go, brown butter. There's our Spätzle. That'll be our side for tonight's dinner. Now, I hope you enjoyed watching me make the Spätzle today. And I'm gonna include one more round just so that you can see how it's done. But if you like this content, I'd appreciate if you liked, subscribed, shared with your friends. And remember, always live your best life. Now, let's do another batch before I call it a day.